seats. We're about to begin. Could everyone please find their seats? We're about to begin. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning and welcome, and more importantly, thank you. Thank you for the difference you make in our community through your generosity, your dedication, and your support. If you don't know me, I'm Tom Gabrielle. I'm the president and CEO of the United Way of Westchester and Putnam. Thank you. I'll take it, but not necessary. It's my privilege to welcome you to the Women Leadership's Council Take a Walk in Her Shoes event. This is our most successful breakfast ever. It is a sellout event, and it follows 5 straight sellout events here at the United Way. That's thanks to your generosity and support. The incredible honorees today, Jan Fisher, Frederico. The incredible work of our Chief Development Officer, Margaret Tramontine, and her team. Of course, our Board of Directors, led currently by Billy Mooney and formerly by Bud Hammer. Thank you, gentlemen. And all of the staff at the United Way. Truly, we are a team effort, and whatever applause you gave me, you should be giving to them. Thank you. But this event is also an opportunity to hear from other great and amazing speakers like Liz Bracken-Thompson, Taryn Duffy, Michelle A. Nicholas, and of course, Mary Calvi. But most importantly, this event is a fundraiser to support ALICE, women, children, and families. So who or what is ALICE? So ALICE is an acronym. It stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, and Employed. And at its core, it's a new way to look at that group of the population that are living just above the federal poverty guideline, but not enough to survive, what we used to call the working poor. These are individuals, or I should say, the federal poverty guideline describes poverty for a family of 4 as $25,000 a year. Yet in Westchester County, when you factor in the real costs of rent, food, utilities, childcare, it's more like $80,000 just to survive. We're not talking about thrive, just to survive. In Westchester, 13% of our neighbors live in poverty, but 27% on top of that 13% are living paycheck to paycheck. They're ALICE. These are our child care workers, our home health aides, our security guards, our waiters and waitresses, our retail salespeople at big box stores, bank tellers, and yes, many of the employees at our nonprofit organizations. They are also disproportionately our most vulnerable populations. 71% of single female-headed households with children are living below that ALICE threshold. 54% of Hispanic families, 51% of Black families below that ALICE threshold. And ALICE is everywhere. They're not just in Peekskill and Mount Vernon, they're in Scarsdale, they're in Pound Ridge. These are hardworking families struggling to make ends meet, but when a crisis happens, they have to make the tough decision between filling their medication or paying the heat bill, between fixing a car so they can get to work or putting food on the table. These are not takers. These are people who add value to our community, they enrich our lives, and they're important members and neighbors of us. And more importantly, their children, even if they were takers, did not choose to be born into this. I know what the hell I'm talking about. I was one of them. My father drove a sanitation truck for the city of New York, ALICE. Then he became a bartender, ALICE. My mother was disabled and could not work. And when that one tragedy struck, my father dying when I was a teenager, poverty. If it was not for organizations like the United Way, if it was not for financial aid and scholarships and educational investments, I am not here today in front of this room speaking to all of you. And I hazard to guess about a third of you wouldn't be here either. In a community like ours, 40% of us living on the margins, not making it, is frankly disgusting. And after 2.5 years of record up and down unemployment, 8% mortgage rates, 10% inflation, 30% increase in heating oil costs, we are drowning. There's a recent study that just came out by the Lending Club that said that 40% living paycheck to paycheck is actually more like 60%. As Damian Barr said, we are not all in the same boat. We are in the same storm. Some of us have yachts, some of us have canoes, and some of us are drowning. And 40%, maybe 60%, are drowning right now. It is helping our neighbors with a hand up, not a hand out, is not just compassionate, it is efficient, and it is effective. What do you think people are doing when they have more money in their pockets? They're investing it in their children's education. They're paying their bills. They're improving their quality of life. They are improving the entire community as a result of it. Thankfully, our United Way has been helping ALICE women and families for 60+ years. This year alone, we've been on the front line helping them by investing $1.7 million in grants to our nonprofit partners. Many of you are here tonight who are providing those services to those ALICE women and families. We also donated $6 million in essential goods like blankets and pillows and mattresses, again, directly to those families. We fielded more than 430,000 inquiries around basic human needs through our free and confidential 211 helpline. We donated more than 44,000 books to get kids started learning. Many of those books, about a third of them, were always bilingual, as well as school supplies through our Education United and United to Read initiatives. And we provided real economic stimulus to put money in people's pockets so that they could get that hand up by helping them apply for things like the Earned Income Tax Credit, the Child Tax Credit, the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, and the Excluded Worker Fund Program. And all of that is thanks to your help, because without your generosity, our staff are not there to provide those services. And all of those things are done in partnership with 400 organizations in this community. Again, many of whom which are here today. And we do it because it is only by being united that we can change the world for the better. Sorry about the pithy use of the word. So, if you are here as the guest of someone and you are not drowning, so I'm specifically talking to a certain group, not everyone, please, I implore you to get more involved with our United Way. Help us help Alice families, women, and children. There are pledge cards on your table, in your napkins. Fill it out. One of our staff members will come by and pick it up. Or alternatively, go to our website, uwwp.org/give, and you can contribute there. You'll also see opportunities to volunteer, to get more involved, and to help these families. Thank you. Now it's my pleasure to start this event and introduce our guest speaker, Mary Calvi, who is also the First Lady of Yonkers. Mary is an award-winning journalist, the morning and noon anchor for WCBS TV, and the national anchor for Inside Edition. Mary, will you please join us?
I was thinking maybe there could be a little bit more applause, so I'll just do that again. Thank you. I'm so humbled. Great to see everybody. You know, I got to get up late today, so thank you for this. I usually get up at 2:30 in the morning to go to work in the city, and this was such a treat. So I know everybody else is like, I'm so tired. I'm like, no, I'm so awake. So thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure to be home and to be able to talk to a crowd of so many of my friends. I've known so many of you for my entire life. I was born in Yonkers, raised in Yonkers, live in Yonkers, and love Westchester just to my core. So thank you for having me. It's really a pleasure to talk to all of you, and we're here for such an important reason. And I have to say, it really, I cry when I think about how difficult it is for so many people. And, you know, I told a story recently at a luncheon, and I'll just tell some of you the reason, you know, each of us has, you know, this mission, this purpose, this inspiration, and just a reason we do what we do. For me, it's because of my mom. She had an incredible story, really, when she was a teenager. A young teenager. She lived in a little town overlooking olive fields and cobblestone streets, a tiny little town in Italy, in the hills. It's like you're really windy to get up there. And she had received her immigration papers, and while in school, her father rushed in, and he said, there are 2 seats on the ship, we have to go. And she had an hour to just get everything she had, like her whole life, into a suitcase. And she had to say goodbye to everyone and everything she knew. She didn't know the language, obviously, but they got on the boat. They made it. And in the middle of this 12-day journey across an ocean, it was in the middle of December, she realized in the rush she had forgotten to bring her coat. And she made it to New York, passing the Statue of Liberty, a real source of inspiration for her. And she realized while she was cold, she was not afraid. And her entire life was about being fearless and about making us fearless and pushing us and making us work really hard. And it was through her that really I always look to, even when I'm having challenges of, you know, getting up in the morning and getting to work and, you know, driving down the West Side Highway, I always look toward the New York Harbor and think, if she can make it here without a coat, into a new place, into a new world, into a new life, then certainly I could make that journey worth it for her. She really is a force to be reckoned with, and still doing very well and driving, and she's in her 80s now, but she is super strong and my inspiration. But really what she allowed me to do was to not be afraid. And so throughout my journey of life and even my career, a lot of people looked at me like I was a little bit cuckoo, you know, like, what do you mean you're going to become a New York journalist and go be on breaking news and do this or that or the other thing? You know, I was a very shy kid, so no one really believed in me when I told them that this is what I wanted to do. But honestly, it didn't really matter to me because I always felt like if she could do that, I could try. And so I worked really tirelessly to try to tell stories that have never been told, but also knowing that every woman has a story and trying to give women voices. And a lot of people, you see me on the morning news, or maybe I'll be on Inside Edition tonight, actually, at 7 if you feel like watching. So that's always fun. I do the weekend, but I fill in for Deborah Norville, so I have a chance to have a real national audience, which is really wonderful and such an honor. But besides that, my passion is to bring stories to light of women who have not had a voice and who have not been able to have their stories told. And so the first chance I had to do that was discovering a story of a woman. Her name was Mary, like me, and she actually owned all of this property all along the Hudson River, and she was named a trader in the American Revolution. I know this goes way back, and you're thinking, well, that's so odd. I'm going back to the 1700s. But again, it's about having a story that I thought needed to be told. Anyhow, she was named a trader, and she lost everything. And I wondered, what did she do wrong? And it turned out that only 3 women were named traders in the American Revolution, and they were the only 3 women who owned real property. So everything was taken from these 3 women. And so it really gave me an opportunity to discover this story, but it was actually the added piece of it was she was George Washington's first love. So it was really a wild experience and a wild journey. And it's now a Smithsonian Channel documentary, so that was pretty exciting to be able to get it out to the world. And recently, I had a chance to discover another story of a woman who has been completely dismissed and disparaged by history, and she was Teddy Roosevelt's first love. And their love letters, many of them have never been published, and her story has never been told, and she's sort of been buried and dismissed in history. And so I have the chance of having that. It'll be published on Valentine's Day. And I'm very excited about it because I feel like her story is one that is really something very special. This is, you're talking about the Gilded Age when women didn't have the right to a higher education and didn't have the rights, of course, that we have. But she was a feminist in the making, and she was getting us there. And each woman has this mission of like just getting us a little bit more step forward, moving us to a place that we feel comfortable and that there are equal rights for women. So the story of Alice was something that I really enjoyed. Her name was Alice, and so I'm thrilled to be here today because I know how important Alice is to you. But in addition, there are so many Alices that have come before United Way's mission of Alice, and it's those women who have made our lives a little bit easier. And it has been a thrill for me to be able to have a chance to tell these incredible stories that I feel history is sort of left behind and pushed aside and really buried in many ways. Eleanor Roosevelt wrote that women should do what you feel in your heart to be right, for you'll be criticized anyway. So here I am, and I know with all of you doing what we can to change the status quo, to inspire, an alternative. And for here today to be with you all to say, let's support the United Way in every way we can, because Alice is important. Alice has a story, and Alice should not remain voiceless for all of history. It's time for all of us to step forward and do a little more, everything we can to support the United Way. Thank you so much for having me. It's a thrill. If I'll be out there with Village Bookstore, and all of the author proceeds will go to the United Way of the Teddy Roosevelt love story today. But in addition, I'll be there for any of you who may have a story of your own that you want to tell, that you want, maybe you're an author in the making. Please ask me, because I've been through it, and maybe I have a little bit of experience that I could provide to all of you. But I just want to say thank you, and it's a thrill for me to be here. Thank you again for allowing me to have a chance to talk to all of you. Thanks. Margaret.
Thank you, Mary. This is a small token of our appreciation.
Oh, thanks, Margaret. You're wonderful. Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. Congrats to all of the winners today. I'm really excited to be able to be part of it. Thanks.
Thank you, Mary. It's just a delight to have you with us for another inspiring morning of women's leadership. Good morning, everyone. I'm Margaret Tramontine, United Way's Chief Development Officer, and isn't it fabulous to be back in this wonderful setting and to be together? Again, it's fabulous. I'm seeing so many people that I haven't seen other than in little boxes the past couple years, and I know we all like being in this beautiful environment. We have a really full program, so I'm going to move things along quickly. Do I understand that Deputy County Executive Ken Jenkins is with us? There you are, Ken. Thank you. It's so good to see you. Did I hear rumor that our county executive was coming? He did? He didn't. Tell him hi for us, okay? All right. Good to see you. I want to do a quick couple shout outs to friends in attendance this morning. And firstly, as we recognize Jan Fisher and Ali Frederico. Woohoo! This side of the room is going nuts. I love it. I would also like to acknowledge a few of our past Women of Distinction honorees that are with us this morning. Marcia Gordon, there you are. Liz Bracken Thompson. I see you, Maria Trusa, right here. And last year's honoree, Taryn Duffy. Also joining us this morning, believe it or not, is our 2019 keynote speaker, Jean Shatsky. It's great to have you back with us. And additionally, we have 3 special guests who were part of our virtual panel discussion last year. So I am thrilled. Lori Walsh of New York Presbyterian Westchester Hospital. Are you here today? You were on my list. Stacy Petrower of New York Presbyterian Hudson Valley Hospital. And I see you, Judith Watson of the Mount Vernon Neighborhood Health Center. Finally, I would like to acknowledge and thank 2 very good friends, Bernadette Schaffer and Leslie Lambert, for underwriting the cost of these gorgeous centerpieces on your tables today, and for also being my favorite masterminds behind the scenes for this event for the past 10 years. They are rock stars. Now it is my pleasure to introduce Michelle Nicholas. Michelle A. Nicholas. Senior VP, Chief Diversity Officer, and Director of Community Development and at PCB. Did I do that? PCSB. There you go. I see you, Joe. You're laughing. You can laugh at me. PCSB Bank, board member of United Way of Westchester and Putnam, and someone I literally met for the first time at this breakfast quite a few years ago, and someone who I'm blessed to be able to call my friend. Michelle.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. All right. The honor is mine this morning. I am so happy to be here with you all. We're here again at Tappan Hill for an inspiring morning. Each year, the Women's Leadership Council presents an award to someone in our midst who's a real and lasting change in our community. She's our woman of distinction. Our first awardee this morning has devoted her entire career to service in our community, specifically to the nonprofit community and thousands of people that it serves. Over the years, Jan Fisher has successfully led multiple nonprofit organizations while also serving on boards in leadership positions, which she continues to do today. A lengthy list of her experiences can be found in your program journal and includes the Westchester County Youth Bureau, Youth Board, Westchester Jewish Community Services, and so many more organizations that she commits her time and herself to. Deeply committed to equity and justice, Jan also serves as an advisory member of the Westchester Center for Racial Equity. As the executive director of Nonprofit Westchester, Jan brings together an agency that has 300 plus members, sharing one strong voice, empowering this critical sector in community, which employs nearly 20% of the workforce in Westchester County. 20%. She's also facilitating important conversations with businesses and government partners, and working to further build capacity across the nonprofit landscape. Ultimately, serving the residents and strengthening our community. Jan, you are truly an inspiration to us all as a female leader, a mentor, an ally, and a voice for the nonprofit community and beyond. You are what we call a true tour de force. Let's say that again. Jan, on behalf of the United Way of Westchester and Putnam and our Women's Leadership Council, we are honored to present you with our Women of Distinction Award.
Good morning. This is a little nerve-wracking for me. I'm used to giving out the honors rather than receiving them, so something this public is a little jarring for me. But thank you all for coming here today. Thank you for my good friend, Michelle Nicholas, for introducing me. You can't imagine how special that was to me. It's an honor to be here today with all of you and my fellow honoree, Frederico. Since this is a Women's Leadership Council event, I will focus on women. And I need to acknowledge my remarks are pretty heteronormative, so I want to be inclusive and I want to acknowledge that as well. In my role in the nonprofit sector, I am given a platform to be seen and to be heard. And often I receive praise for accomplishments that are actually the work of so many other people, including those in my fierce sisterhood of nonprofit professionals and supporters, who I am so grateful to have in my life. However, as we've discussed today, there are too many women who are not visible. People that, like those in this room, work hard to achieve their goals, yet struggle, are not visible, and are too often misunderstood. Thank you to the United Way for telling their stories with facts and data and for lifting them up with your work. I will honor women with some more facts and data. Overall, women are typically paid 77 cents to the dollar of men. Latina women in the United States make 57 cents to the dollar that every white man makes. Black women in the United States are typically paid just 64 cents for every dollar paid to white men. And I love a lot of white men, including my husband, who's here with me today. But this is more than an income gap. It is a wealth gap based on centuries of systemic and institutional sexism and racism with across-the-board consequences. These consequences include inequities in physical and mental health care, education, employment, housing, treatment in the legal system, and the opportunity to simply relax, recreate, and enjoy quality time with friends and family because people are struggling. These are not women's issues that can be solved alone by individual drive and resilience and excellent nonprofit programs. We must all be agents of change in dismantling systems that still have life-limiting outcomes for women, particularly women of color. For those who are here today to honor me, please do so by learning more about Alice. She deserves your attention. Thank you to the United Way, to my partners, Tom, Faith, Margaret, Avery, Takia, for this opportunity and for the work you do, and a special shout out to my colleagues and board of directors at Nonprofit Westchester. Thank you.
Congratulations, Jan. It is truly our privilege to recognize you for your dedication and your commitment to being a champion of the nonprofit community and for simply being who you are, a great woman, a friend to many in this room, as evidenced by this really rowdy crew here, and obviously a fabulous community leader. So one more time. And I agree with Jan, it's totally nerve-wracking being up here, just for the record. So good morning, everybody. My name is Taryn Duffy. I am the Vice President of Public Affairs for Empire City Casino and MGM Resorts. I'm also a former board member of the United Way. We did not leave them, though. I supplemented my position with a great guy named Jonathan, who is not here today, and I will give him a hard time for that, but he just had a third baby, so we're going to give him a pass. I'm also the very fortunate recipient of last year's Women Leadership Council Women of Distinction Award, though I had the full grace of being able to do it virtually, because I think I would have been really nervous to be up here for that. But it's truly humbling to be honored by the United Way, and it's even better to share this recognition with our awardees this morning. It is my pleasure to introduce you to another amazing woman leader who is widely known throughout our community in the business and economic circles, as well as the nonprofit circles, and who possesses an exceptional passion for volunteer service. Frederico is a colleague and a friend to so many of us in this room. We know her as a senior relationship manager and vice president at TD Bank, formerly, I guess now here, right? And so she was the recipient of numerous awards in that position as well. She is also an appointee on the Mid-Hudson Regional Economic Development Council, where she does incredible work. And she devoted more than 30 years of her life to the financial industry and banking industry, and just retired, and I'm sure we're all very jealous, from her position in January, so she could tell us later what she's been up to here, but I think we all have a sense of that. But getting back to that word relationship, right? Over the years, how many of us have seen Allie at every event, morning, noon, night, right? Allie is there, somehow magically just being able to do it all and be everywhere at once. Her boundless energy in championing our community is just one for the records. And of course, she does it with a very infectious and ever-ready smile, which I truly appreciate. In addition to being a economic empowerment focus, or having an economic empowerment focus, Allie has been deeply committed to the health and education of our residents for years, as demonstrated by her extensive service on so many boards, nonprofit and private, including White Plains Hospital, Westchester Community College Board of Trustees and their foundation, and of course, the United Way of Westchester and Putnam, and that's just naming a few. She is, and I'm not sure if all of you know this, but she's a founding board member of 100 Hispanic Women of Westchester, which does incredible work, and past president and current chair of the Westchester Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. So there is not a corner, an industry, an organization that Allie has not touched. Allie, on behalf of the United Way, I am honored to be the one to present you with the United Way of Westchester and Putnam Women's Leadership Council Women of Distinction Award.
Well, I'm going to play the Mary Calvi. More applause, please, as I come up to the microphone. And I wasn't as smart as Jan to have this in bigger type, so I apologize for that. But thank you, Taryn, for those really kind words. I so appreciate you and everything that you're doing in the community and all the boards that you're involved with. Thank you to the United Way Women's Leadership Council for asking me to be one of these recipients. I follow in a line of phenomenal women, and I'm just so humbled by it. And really especially proud of being honored today with Jan Fisher, a real leader in the community and is so involved in our not-for-profit arena. And I'm very proud of the work that the United Way of Westchester and Putnam is doing. I'm proud to be on the board, sitting on a couple of areas, including our diversity and inclusion. And specifically today, its focus on Alice and really supporting those women, family, and children that are living in poverty or at the edge, living paycheck to paycheck. So, and I appreciate everyone that's in this room that's supporting that endeavor today. It's certainly important. Yes, this is what retirement looks like. Loving it. I have to say that it's been a beautiful thing this year. Just a couple of quick snippets. I started the year as a retiree along with my husband, enjoying it. Followed it by becoming a grandmother. My son is here. Very happy about that. Rounded it up this Thanksgiving by checking off a bucket list item, walking in the Macy's Day Parade as a balloon handler. Yes, SpongeBob, 50 blocks. I did it. I have the pictures to prove it. And it was wonderful, but I didn't do it in these shoes, sorry. Yes, so former banker, 30 years, and really proud and honored to have finished my career with such a distinguished group of colleagues and my friends at TD Bank over there, so thank you. And also, a phenomenal year as the Western Hispanic Chamber of Commerce goes into its 35th year. And the ladies in the room, our board of directors are here, and we celebrated a signature event in August where we highlighted 6 phenomenal Hispanic women in business, philanthropy, community, and just really showed what Hispanic business is doing, not only in Westchester, but throughout the United States. Being in Tapman Hill is coming home to me. I'm a Terrytowner, grew up here. My father waited tables here. I'm an immigrant, and we settled in Terrytown. And we arrived on a Friday, like many immigrants, we were working on Monday. And my parents were thrilled to be here and always appreciated the opportunities and the freedoms that this country offered. And to this day, my entire family is so grateful. My parents died being citizens and voting every year that they could. And as we celebrate women, I can honestly say that I was raised by a phenomenal group of strong women, grandmother, mother, aunts. They raised loving families and were equal partners in contributing to the livelihood of their families. They had guts, tenacity, faith, values, pride, and yes, sharp tongues and quick hands. So in my childhood, my family did live paycheck to paycheck, with my dad working 2 jobs, my mom having a job and working, and some of the Cuban friends in the room will know what part-time means, which is the part-time, Jeanette. So, you know, it was a little bit stressful sometimes to have to go with my father when he was laid off to unemployment, or when my mom's factory closed, where she worked as a seamstress. But we were fortunate enough that with perseverance, we made it through. And I was fortunate enough to be able to go on to have a wonderful and fulfilling career that offered me the opportunities to achieve goals both professionally and financially. And I have many to thank for that, specifically my husband and my son, and my granddaughter. My professional sponsors and mentors, many in this room, which you are so dear to me. You know, as a young Latina in banking, my mentors were white men. And you know what? Thank God for it. Because one of them is here, and I'm so appreciative. But also, a lot of my sponsors were very successful women that have always kind of had me under their wings. I really want to send a shout out to fellow board members in this room. A lot of you all serve on boards as volunteers. I learn from you every day as professionals. I learn from you and appreciate you as you pay it back, where you bring really your talent, time, and treasure to every organization that you belong to make an impact. Every child deserves the opportunity to grow, learn, and flourish without the stress of seeing parents bend over bills and trying to decide which bill gets paid first. Every parent should be able to buy food for their child without worry. Access to education, housing, health care, child care, and the opportunity for upward economic mobility is something that we can all agree should not be up for debate. How we get there is a caring community with the resources is a topic that we should be focused on always. I truly thank everyone that has supported this event. I appreciate you awarding me. Your friendship and partnership means everything, and let's make sure that we take Alice down. Thank you.
Congratulations, Allie. So well deserved. You know, it's hard to believe when I received I'm Liz Bracken Thompson, and when I received the invitation this year, I said, it can't be. Ali Frederico has never been honored by the United Way yet. I mean, you've just been such a staple in our community for so many years. So well deserved, and we're all behind you. And I'm so glad you're enjoying your time retired now. You deserve it. And also, congratulations to Jan Fisher for all the incredible work you've done. Again, so well deserved. We've just such a room full of wonderful people here today. I'm especially happy because it's the first time we've been together to celebrate these women of distinction in 2 years. So let's give ourselves a round of applause. I also want to invite up, we're going to have a little discussion now about Alice, so I want to invite up to these chairs next to me here, Taryn Duffy, last year's winner. I'd like to invite Michelle Nicholas up here to join me, Jan Fisher, and Ali Frederico. And while they're coming up to take their seats, I just want to give another shout out to Mary Calvi for taking the morning off from WCBS TV to be with us today. That's incredible, Mary. And I love these love letters that we all have on our chairs. This is an actual love letter that was written by Theodore Roosevelt to Alice with a beautiful bookmark. And it's so generous of you to donate today's sales, Mary, of your new book, Outside, to the United Way. So please, before you leave today, a great Valentine's Day gift for the special person in your life. I just want to give a quote that Margaret Mead, talk about a woman of distinction, gave. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed people can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. And I see this room today of these committed people, the committed members of the Board of Directors of the United Way of Westchester, and I know that we can eradicate Alice and address it today. So we have this distinguished group of people seated next to me who have already met, and I want to just ask you a couple of questions. You have microphones there. And the first question I'm just going to direct generally to Taryn, Michelle, to you, Ali, Jan, if you'd like to comment, but unexpected circumstances can have on an individual or a family an impact that is so dramatic, and that's what we're here to talk about with Alice today. I know that Ali, Taryn, and Michelle, you've all experienced this to some degree in your lives, and as someone who has lived it, what is something you wished you had available to you when you were experiencing it?
Hi. For me, and I was young, I guess we just didn't realize that there were resources out there that could have helped us, in some instances, whether it be, with regard to rent or additional, services, or even help with, education cost. And even something as simple as, helping my parents to learn the language.
Yeah.
That would have been really terrific. So I think it's, again, for many communities, it's exposure, access, and knowing what resources are available.
Taryn, Michelle?
As an immigrant, it is information, community, and definitely access. Recognizing that when you sometimes come to a different country, you don't know, you don't have the opportunity, and you may not have the community that you're accustomed to. And being able to really kind of be oriented and know that there are resources, like Ali said, about rent, childcare. I learned about childcare resources when my son almost didn't need it anymore. And Lord knows, I wish I had known it way before then.
Childcare, yeah, super important. Taryn?
I really wish I made notes and prepared for this conversation. I'm like, oh boy, anything can come out of my mouth at this point. First of all, good morning. It's a pleasure to be here, but really sad to be here to talk about this topic, to be honest with you. I am not an immigrant. I don't think anybody will be surprised by that. I came from a very middle-class upbringing. My father was a stagehand. My mother was a rockette and then opened a dance studio. And I think they would have been horrified to know where I had landed. I kept it a great secret. I was incredibly poor, and I had gotten pregnant and married, so I didn't pursue the law degree that I wanted. And I found myself in a very violent marriage, thanks to very many factors and some PTSD from the first Gulf War. And there I was.
You were Alice. You were.
I was, and I was struggling. And what did I need? information, opportunity, and I had privilege to lean on. Like, let's not negate that factor. But damn, it was hard.
Mm-hmm. I bet. And how did you finally achieve financial stability in your life?
The grace of God. I'm going to be honest. Jean Chatsky, can you raise your hand, please? Okay. Yeah. So Jean has probably been in the financial industry for, I don't know, decades. And there's this magical thing where people, they study something for years and years and years, and they develop an expertise, and then they write it all down in the form of a book, and you get to read it. I glommed on to information anywhere I could get it when I figured out that there was a different way. I worked in law firms around people who had money. I went into politics and people had money. And I'm like, how does this work? How did you get here? How do I do this better? And then as I learned it, I did things differently, figuring out that if I pass up on the small things, which, by the way, when you're earning $30,000 a year, which I did the math last night, like, how poor was I? It was $15 an hour.
Yeah, that's a good point. And a great transition, because Jan, I have a question for you. The minimum wage in Westchester is now $15 per hour. I know that Feeding Westchester and United Way recently committed to not having employees work for less than $20 an hour. However, while many nonprofits are working to help the Alice population, some of the nonprofit workers are Alice themselves because of budgeting constraints put on organizations by government contractors, grantors, and donors that require their funds go directly to program expenses and not to salaries. So how do we combat those government and donor perceptions so our employees can earn a decent living?
Well, I did prepare for this question because I needed to, and because I'm not nearly as good off the cuff as Taryn is. So I do want to start by saying that here in Westchester, we have incredible relationships with our government partners at all levels and with our funders and local foundations. They are truly partners, and they understand and are working with us to resolve the issues that Elizabeth brought forward. So I need to frame it in that way. It is simply a falsehood to make a distinction between nonprofit programs and salaried staff. There are no programs without nonprofit professionals and essential workers to deliver them. They are the lifeblood of our community, and they are the lifeblood of our nonprofits. It is true that too many in the nonprofit workforce, those who cared for our families in nursing homes, provided virtual programs for our children, and in-person childcare for hospital workers during the pandemic, suffer many of the same indignities as the people they serve. Some are living in homeless shelters, at least partially, because of unfair and misguided caps on wages. These people are 80% women and over 50% people of color, and they were deemed essential during the pandemic. They are still essential. The onus should not be on government and foundations alone. Nonprofit professionals, CEOs, fundraising professionals, and others must stand up and be a force for change and to solve the problem. We must dismantle systems of philanthropy and funding as usual, which is donor-centered rather than community-centered. We simply can't continue as a sector to bow to the wishes of donors if they don't truly move our society forward. We must let funders know what we need and not try to appease and conform to systems that harm our workforce and ultimately the people we serve. We must do this collaboratively and not competitively. And all of you in this room can be part of that force for good. And I hope that you will be.
Excellent. Thank you, Jan. So inspirational. You certainly were prepared for that answer. I have a question for you, Ally. As a proponent of entrepreneurship and economic development in Westchester County, especially for the Hispanic community, what benefits does small business ownership have for Alice individuals? And I might add, is entrepreneurship the right choice for everyone?
Thanks, Liz. And being an entrepreneur or an owner is not necessarily for everyone, and there are steps that you will be able to discover if you are, and we'll go through that. But yes, I'm a big proponent of economic development and small business. It's really the backbone of our community, and in the last 25 years, 2 out of every 3 jobs were created by small business. And Hispanic business, especially Latina businesses, are the fastest growing, along with Black women-owned businesses. Interestingly enough, and I did prepare a little bit myself too.
All leaders.
In looking at what it meant to be an Alice individual, a low-wage earner, not necessarily have stability because you could be laid off. Not having an opportunity to necessarily have flexibility with regard to childcare, paid leave, health care, or retirement. Also found that in the last, 2-3 years with COVID, disseminated a lot of our small business, but primarily impacted the low-wage earners and earners of color that were the first to not have employment. Mm-hmm. And that actually precipitated the entrepreneurship and startup of small business that I learned that nearly 47% of businesses started by women in the past year are minority owned.
Interesting.
Which I didn't realize it was that high.
That's great.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
And again, these were women that carried the bulk of the financial responsibility for their families. And they did it, for a couple of reasons. Some were holding 9-to-5 jobs, and it represented a chance for independence, to be their own boss. And for millions of moms, it offered the opportunity for benefits, health insurance, sick leave, and again, control of their own schedules. I do want to say that owning your own business is an alternative. It's an option to increasing your income stream. Gives you more flexibility with saving for retirement. As a business owner, you also can create assets and generational wealth for your families. Again, not everyone has it in them, the passion, the drive, but also the tools or the knowledge to start a small business. And that's why it's so important in this community, because we have a lot of specialists in the room and within our community that we can refer someone that maybe just has an idea that is struggling right now, but that entrepreneurship might be something for them, or it could be something that they do, maybe not full-time right away, but part-time to supplement their income. But certainly, organizations such as WLC, what can help our women entrepreneurs understand what is needed, how to guide them. Do you have your business plan? Does someone want your product? Financially, are you ready for the capital that you need? How you fund it? Do you have 6 to 12 months worth? Do you have your team, your CPA, your banker, your lawyer, the folks that can guide you, the scores, the SBA, the Chambers of Commerce? And I'm going to give a big plug to our folks at Westchester Economic Development and Catalyst and Launch 1000. That over the last several months has really graduated folks that had an idea and needed the guidance to take their business to the next level, and then also help fund it.
Yes.
We had an event last week for the Chamber, Hispanic Chamber, where I met a young lady, very impressive, who currently works in a hospital, but she had this idea to be an interior designer. And she called the Small Business Administration. They actually referred her to this program that we have here right in the county. She went through the program, the rigorous program, but she said, I didn't know what I didn't know. And it took her through the ABCs. She graduated, she got some seed money to start her business. I just got her card the other night. She's an interior designer. And so yes, it's an opportunity for folks to have income, a new income stream, provide flexibility for their family, provide some things that they currently don't have, childcare, retirement, paid leave, asset, be their own boss. But you have to have the passion, you have to have the guidance in order to be successful.
What a great success story, though, that you just shared. That's fabulous. And now I'm going to turn to you, Michelle, because as we heard before, 71% of single female-headed households with children are considered Alice and living in poverty. And we also know that African American, Black, or Hispanic households are more than 50% likely to be so. So with intersectionality, that means that more than 75% of households led by single women of color are indeed Alice. What can we do as a community to help these women become more financially stable?
First of all, you're here. Thank you. But let this not be the start and the end. We need fairness. We need respect. We need equity. When Tom was speaking in the beginning, he gave numbers. When we were just hearing details, we heard numbers as well. Jan shared some as well, a lot. Tom shared, I think it was 30,000 for family of 4. I think that was it, 25, family of 4. I want you to think about that for a second. Family of 4, $25,000. Who can survive on that? If you're making $15 an hour part-time, how much money are you making every week? If you're doing it for full-time, 8 hours, how much money are you making every week? In order for us to be able to survive, and I speak to you as a mother, I speak to you as an immigrant, I speak to you as a Black woman. If we are to survive, we need the support of the community. We need the fairness, the respect, the equity. Open the doors. Kick it in. Think about it. How many of you have ever been unemployed? Raise your hand. The room seems a little bit low on that. I was unemployed for 364 days. On the 65th day, I got a call. When I became unemployed, I was told I could receive unemployment. Great. The only problem to that equation was that on the first time when I got in, and I was told you're going to get food stamps, the food stamps was only going to be one time because your unemployment was $1,100, which is above the amount that we can continue to give you food stamps monthly. My rent was $900. My unemployment is $1,100. And I'm a mom. I need to survive. My child needs to eat. I need to live. At the time, I did not know that there's a child care council. Not even, because I didn't have that information. So I walked into the daycare center and I told the head of the daycare, I'm so sorry, but going forward, my son can no longer be here. She said, why? I don't have a job and I can't pay you. She said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to help you find resources. And she helped me find childcare counsel. And my son stayed in. What was happening after then, I live in Mount Vernon. You couldn't be late on your rent because just one late, you're getting a visit. I didn't have cable, I didn't have a cell phone, I had nothing. What I would do, however, is every time my son went to daycare, I had $1. That means that I was able to get an hour on the Mount Vernon Library computer. So I would walk from my apartment to the library every single day. And I would pay my 25 cents and I applied for jobs. Please understand, they can't call me because I don't have a phone number. What they did, they had to email. So I would have to wait until they responded back. I got interviews. They were wonderful until a couple of things. One, they realized that I speak English very well. Or the person interviewing me once said to me, I can't hire you because you're going to take my job. You're overqualified. So what I did was that I took a position when it was offered. I did not care. I needed a job. So when I said to you 364, and that one day when I got that email, yes, I'll take it. Was it good money? Not really. But it was more than I was getting through unemployment. So when the question is asked now saying, what can you do? Open the door. Give opportunities. Be fair. Be respectful. And know that we are all trying here. We are all trying. You might not have been unemployed, but you can help somebody today. Think about the salaries that you're paying. We heard earlier that Nonprofit Westchester and United Way, they've gotten their $20 and above. When you have a moment today, review your salary. Review your minimum. Because if it's 4 at $27,000, and the child care in Mount Vernon right now, according to the statistics, a child below 2 years and below, to raise a child annually is $18,000. My son is 17. Eats way much more than I do. Think about what you could be doing for families like mine.
Oh, thank you, Michelle. What an inspiration for us all. And thank you. Thank you so much. Jan, you wanted to say something?
I do want to add something to that, which I know is very risky coming after my friend Michelle, but we have a lot of conversations among government, business, and nonprofits about a $15 minimum wage and how it's not doable, how it will hurt our community. It will not hurt our community. We have to put our brains together. We have to find a way to stop saying we can't do it, it's going to hurt too many. It is not going to hurt. We can find a way to do it, and we have to start having very, very real conversations about, again, the lifeblood of our communities, and not just nonprofit people, people who work in restaurants, people who provide childcare, people who do so many jobs. We're a smart community, we're a smart society, we can and should do better. And the conversations have to stop being, we can't afford to do this, and they have to start being, we must do this. let's come together, let's all the sectors come together and find a way to respect people and pay them what they're worth.
That's
so
great.
they can live and thrive in our society.
That's great, Jan. Thank you for that. I do want to, I know we're running out of time. I do want to just close with one last question for Taryn. And Taryn, we know that MGM joined the Westchester community in 2019, although Yonkers Raceway's been there forever. I just was wondering, from your perspective, if you've seen any change in the retention rate of employees and what you're doing to improve the quality of life as a major employer in the largest city in Westchester and the third largest city in our state.
Thank you for reminding me that I get paid every day. Thanks for that. I appreciate it. It is true, MGM Resorts acquired Empire City Casino. And it's an incredible company. I think we're very fortunate to have them in New York. And I will say that in terms of the conversation around Alice and the employment needs of just workforces throughout the county, MGM came in and did an analysis of our operations and realized pretty quickly not only that they're paying like 70% tax rate when they're paying 8 or 6% in New Jersey and Vegas, but also that a lot of our team members were working 2 and 3 jobs. And so they were like, well, why is that the case? That's not the case at any of our other properties. And so they ended up doubling the wages for most of our employees, which, you know, took an annual payroll of $45 million to over $80 million a year. And it wasn't because, you know, they were just rolling in money and like throwing it around, right? That's not how it worked. It was an investment. It's an investment in the workforce, because without that incredible workforce developing and providing that hospitality service to their customers, they were never going to get more customers and never going to be able to grow. And so that's great company. Cheers, MGM. I love them. You should all support them, right? But that's not what we're here about today. We're here about how do we all, right? I'm not in the C-suite of MGM sitting in Vegas, but how do we all play a role in this? And I would say it's not just the CEOs. I don't think it's just the CEOs. I think it's everybody who has an opportunity to collaborate with your employees and your colleagues and, you know, weigh in on a review, advocate for a salary bump, and resources. Where are those resources? You know, I sat in a clinic with my daughter who, you know, thank God is 32, and I am not feeding a 17-year-old. But, you know, I remember sitting in that clinic with her trying to get her shots for school, and there was no information in that clinic. I had no insurance, I had no job, but there was no information for me on anything. Not about legal services that I definitely needed at that time, not about resources, not about healthcare, job, nothing. What about the train that I sat in, commuting for an hour and a half every day on that subway? Why isn't that completely covered with resources for New Yorkers? So I would challenge everybody here today to look around you, pay attention, find the opportunity, right? It might not hit you in the head with a brick, but find the opportunity to do something. Whether it's supporting a nonprofit, being engaged in your community, supporting the people around you, ensuring that there's resources in your workplace, all of it. Go after all of it, because it is really incumbent upon each of us to take that on as our own personal responsibility, because we are the people that are going to lift up the people around us.
What a great way to close today's program. I just want to give a round of applause for these women of distinction that we've had here today. You're all incredible. And now I'll invite Tom Gabriel back for closing remarks. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, Liz, for graciously guiding this morning's conversation, and as always, for answering our call. We appreciate you. And thank you, Michelle and Taryn, for your unwavering support of our United Way, and to those we serve, and Mary, for your words of inspiration. But most importantly, thank you to our 2 women of distinction, Jan Fisher and Ali Federico. Please, another round of applause for them. It has been absolutely delightful to see you all in person once again, and we want to thank the team here at Tappan Hill for putting together an amazing event for us. If there were 2 themes if there were two themes that I heard, and I hope you heard, first of all, it's the stats and the stories around Alice. That this is 40% of our community. If you want to know more about Alice, go to our website, uwwp.org/Alice. You can read the 2020 report. We will have a 2023 report early next year. And the stories and the stats are sobering. But the other thing that I think we all heard was that there is a dearth of information out there. That's one of the reasons why 211 was created almost 20 years ago, so that all the community has to remember is 3 digits to get one of our call specialists who are available 24/7, 365 to provide people with information and referral about all of the wonderful and amazing programs that are out there so that we don't have to live in the dark. The other thing, and I think this was incredibly telling as a takeaway for the rest of us today, and Michelle, you shared it, open the door. Open the door. I can't imagine what this community would look like if someone didn't open the door for Ali Federico, for Taryn Duffy, for Michelle Nicholas. This community would be worse off without them. Please do it for the next group. Thank you very much for being a part of this event. Thank you for your generosity and your support. And have a wonderful holiday season, everyone.